As well, we're currently in a very tense moment with our closest neighbor, the United States of America. What position do they take about the potential creation of a new country on one of their northern borders? I don't think they'll be indifferent to the question about whether or not Alberta is able to create its own country, or whether its future might be better off in the United States of America.
And so when you look at Alberta wants to trade its oil and wants to make deals to trade oil, and the state kind of messes with them. Because if they allowed them to do it, you know how wealthy Alberta would be? Texas. And by the way, they also have a thriving beef industry. So what the Albertans are saying is we're on this island and we're not with the program, and they want either an Alberta Accord. And look, it's an accord with your own country, and they're asking for access to a port. They're a part of Canada, and they just want access to the port so they can export their oil. Isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. The U.S. has never said that, Oklahoma or Arkansas couldn't send things through a Houston port to export. This happens all the time. And so they're talking about how fed up they are, and there you have it. Your own country won't even do things for you. Now they want an accord to level the playing field for Alberta, and they're trying to go the nice way. Meanwhile, people are signing a petition saying, why not be the 51st state?
This is Alberta. This is oil country right here. And soon enough, this land might become the newest independent nation on earth. It could also go on to become the 51st state in the Union. Old Glory has flown in these parts before, and soon it may fly over this land again. Let's get into it. Very quickly though, if you enjoy these videos, please do me a solid and subscribe. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe later if you change your mind. Thank you, and back to the video.
How is it helpful, though, Premier, with respect to open the door to, for example, a citizen-led referendum on separation, if your overall objective is to engage in more fruitful negotiations with the federal government? And if, in fact, that referendum results in a vote to separate, would you?
Canada is not open to us. They need to open their market. Unless they're willing to open their market, they're going to pay a tariff.
All of Alberta's energy resources, oil, gas, bitumen, all of our agricultural products are exempt from tariffs. And that's what we've got to be working towards for every single product.
Look, if you've been paying attention to what's happening in Canada, more specifically in Alberta, you'll probably start to notice a trend. While the rest of the country has become mostly hostile and bitter towards the United States during these trade negotiations, the province of Alberta has remained mostly diplomatic, cooperative, and some would say even friendlier towards the Americans. Furthermore, Premier Danielle Smith has made multiple statements indicating a closer integration of the Alberta economy with its southern counterparts in Montana, North Dakota, and others. In recent declarations, she's alluded to energy development agreements and other deals that are being worked on with members of the cabinet from the Trump administration. More specifically, U.S. Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum. She has also been warning the Canadian federal government about the unprecedented levels of support for the independence movement, and that she fears that Canadian unity will fall apart once Albertans realize that it is much easier to trade with Americans than it is with the rest of Canada. It seems Alberta continues to be at odds with the rest of the country while integrating more and more into the American economy.
What I expect the Americans will do is that they will indicate at some point here that they will recognize Alberta's right to self-determination, that the Americans, whether it's the State Department or the president or someone, will say, we know there's this situation going on in Canada, and we respect the right of Albertans to choose their destiny and have self-determination. The American government's done this in other instances where there's a upheaval in some countries around the world. And then I think the next thing they might do is say, well, if the referendum is in favor of separation, international states can give recognition, even where the home country doesn't agree. Think Taiwan, right? So a number of countries, including Canada, have recognized Taiwan, even though, according to the Chinese constitution, Taiwan is part of China, right? So one of the options the Americans will have is to give international recognition to Alberta. Alberta will have that advantage going into the negotiation, that if everybody wants to play silly bugger and not engage in good faith negotiations, you've got Trump already signaling perhaps that he will give international recognition.
As a vote on Alberta independence becomes imminent in 2026, international attention is only going to intensify. This is a story that's already getting a lot of attention from America and Europe, even though it's still early days, relatively speaking. International recognition is one of the most crucial and important steps in bringing legitimacy to a new independent nation. Having it creates credibility for the claim to sovereignty of the new state. Receiving recognition from any established state would be positive, but the United States, the most powerful nation on earth, acknowledging Alberta's independence would be the ultimate game changer. As one of the leaders of the Alberta Prosperity Project declared, Alberta would become an independent nation on that very day.
And of course, Alberta now moving towards separation from Canada. Thousands of Albertans have taken to the streets, holding rallies, signing petitions to separate from Canada. First of all, do you think that that's going to happen? Will Alberta actually separate from Canada? And what do you make of these sort of like new censorship regime around social media and other things? I mean, it seems like a playbook right out of the United Kingdom.
Well, to address your first question about Alberta, I would have said it was the impossible dream at one time, because there are waves of separatist sentiment in Alberta, especially, and throughout Western Canada, but very specifically in Alberta. And I can remember many instances of this. However, this is more than just a wave of sentiment. And I was speaking just the other day, and I interviewed Alberta Prosperity Project Counsel, Jeff Rath, who inform me exactly how many names they have on this petition to get the ball rolling. And Canada is, I think, the only democracy that has codified its ability, the provincial ability to separate. All it takes is 50 plus 1, and a province can separate. Now, where are the numbers right now? Well, and these numbers are about a month out of date. This is pre-Carney winning this election. The hardcore support's about 25%. The soft support is hovering about 15%. So that means about 40% of Albertans are either very supportive of separation, of Alberta independence, or somewhat supportive. Now, will those numbers go past the magic 50 plus 1 over the next few months? Very possibly.
All right, thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Special thanks to those of you who have donated to this project. It is much appreciated, and it helps me continue making videos. See you on the next one. Peace.